Hey everybody, NFT fans, welcome back to the ENVELOP Podcast. I'm your host, Eugene Crypto MC, and I'm here today with my friend from Thailand. He's Tlahui Calva. He's storyteller, cryptonaut, biz dev, influencer. He's also the co-host of the Human and Machine Podcast. Check the link below. It's perfect. So I would love to dive with him into the philosophical essence of NFT today. So Tlahui, my pleasure to have you again on my podcast.
Man, my pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you very much with you and your audience. And thank you for such a nice introduction.
So let's start with your personal story in crypto. I prefer to start talking with my speakers. Tell us briefly, how did you get into the blockchain space? What were your main incentives for that?
Well, first of all, it was a common friend of ours, Felix Mago, that he was the one that introduced Dash, right, to Asia, especially to Thailand. And he started talking all this thing about the crypto coin, right? And I didn't know much. I have heard about Bitcoin, but besides that, I've never done anything else, right? And then my brother and I, also friends with Felix, we decided to, well, we were offered the opportunity to receive Dash as a form of payment in our Mexican restaurant here in Bangkok. So we did. So that was the first brush with cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
Yeah, greetings to Felix. You may also find an episode with Felix Mago here in the playlist of ENVELOP Podcast. He's super cool guy. Yeah. So you are involved in different blockchain projects, different roles. So tell us, please, what specific project regarding blockchain are you involved now, in what roles?
Okay. Right now, forgive me if I prefer not to mention the specific names of the projects, but it's about a confidential blockchain, fully confidential, private by default blockchain. And also one on a really exciting project about metaverse. A metaverse, so, you know, all NFTs, everything is interact, not just play to earn. A lot of different and very new concepts are coming together into these metaverses. So those are the two projects I'm helping developing right now.
Yeah, metaverse is a huge area. We may deep dive for years in that, and that's our brilliant future. We should believe in yes. So about NFTs, Tlahui, how did you get your first exposure with NFTs, and how do you explain for not crypto people, for not machine people, for humans, what is non-fungible token?
Well, it's just something that is unique. At the end, it's just that, right? It's one object that is unique in nature. Like if you have a dollar and you have another dollar, well, they are not unique, right? They're the representation of a single value, that's it. But a non-fungible is just precisely a representation or a digital entity or object, right? That is unique in a way, just unique in some way, right? And pretty much that's what it's all about, in spite of the very difficult name, right? I don't know who is the one that coins this just so difficult terms, right? But it's just just that, right? And especially if you understand that NFTs can be a representation of something in the real world, right? Then you see that a lot of things that you own in the real world are very unique, right? They evolve with you, they become unique. And if you can represent them digitally, then you have an NFT, right? So pretty much it's just super basic.
I cannot say that you are the blind, delighted enthusiast of NFT. Yeah. Oh, NFT is very cool. I know you have a controversial view on regarding NFTs. That's the core point of our conversation, and you know that. Please tell us, what controversies regarding NFTs do you see now in the today's situation?
Well, you know, when I found out about them, I was like, for me, it's like, okay, this thing doesn't have an existence of its own, because we associate existence with being able, solidity, being able to touch it, right, to sense it. But in a way, Bitcoin is no any different, and a lot of my investment is in crypto coins, right? So I guess a little bit was ignorance from my part. It was also lack of imagination from my part. Yeah, so I take full responsibility of that contradiction because it was very personal. But I had a conversation with the Animoca, like the big boss, right? Yatsu, the chief, like president of Animoca, and this guy he really is like enlightened. He's just amazing to talk with. And I was asking him, like, please, you are one of the NFT men, right? Like how do you explain that and just a CryptoPunk, or like ugly, because they are ugly. You can convince me of their value, but you cannot convince me that they're beautiful. They're just a pixelated, ugly image. How can it be selling for many ETHs, like thousands and hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars? And he was telling me something that I loved, and I was like, two things. One is the belonging. We do, as human beings, we need to belong. We need to be part of a group. And to be honest, we all look for groups that best represent us, either our uniqueness in economical terms, or our uniqueness in the way we think, or we see health, or we see any issue whatsoever. So that part, that's like, okay, I understand. Even it sounds superfluous, even it sounds like a little bit superficial, it's not, because human evolution has depended on groups, expanding, overtaking, conquering, or imposing one on top of each other, sometimes even helping themselves grow, right? So that was a very good answer for me. And the second part was, this is the pinnacle of human imagination. We live in a solid world, but at the end of the day, what makes the human race different to every other race is that we have the possibility of imagining, of expanding what we believe is possible, right? So now we believe that we, like the metaverse, we can actually create places that, if not better, they are completely different to what we can see in the reality today. So that is the kind of thing that also is like, okay, one is the belonging to a group, right, where all my friends have Lamborghinis, and now we all have rocks that cost $1 million, right? As crazy as it sounds, it's just part of our human nature. And two, NFTs really are expanding what we thought was possible in this world by just making our heads and our brains big. So probably you will not find that contradiction that I had a few months ago, but that's because I'm lucky to be exposed to some of the greatest minds in the world, right? Because I think some of the greatest minds in the world right now are in blockchain. More than any other technology, they're in blockchain. And if they explain them to you like they explain them to me in my channel, right? Then you get a really good perspective. And these people are, like, again, greatest people, right? So you better listen.
Definitely. How do you see why NFTs as a technology? Technology is neutral. Technology just manifests different human features. We may use knife for cutting the meat, or may use knife for killing the people, and so on and so forth. So how do you see the main problems and diseases of very young NFT segment, the pains or challenges of NFT market participants, because these are relatively young and developing markets?
Well, I think, and you said it well, it's neutral, right? Some people are putting money that may not be ready to lose on stuff that don't understand, right? So that's always a problem. It's like we buy into the mofo, right? We want to be part of it, but we are not really there to be part of that, right? So probably that may be the biggest problem I see right now, that some stuff doesn't have value, will not hold value, right? And a lot of people will resent that economically. Besides that, I think it's just a moment of exploration. And when you explore, you need to be ready to have the consequences, of your actions, right? They're neutral. It's not like, oh, I go bankrupt. Well, at the end of the day, it's also neutral, right? You choose to put some money there, and things didn't go well. And in 5 years from now, we will have millionaires with NFTs, right? Like they bought for only 7 ETH, and suddenly they are 700. So it's human exploration. And that's what I took from Yatsu, right? At the end of the day, we are just expanding. We are just creating stuff that was never there before. A few years back, if you and I talk about this, people would have said like, what? I mean, an ugly pixelated NFT for $150,000, it just doesn't make sense. But every opportunity, everything, and I'm talking about like the metaverse. I'm right in developing the narrative, right? I am able to sit down and create stories, right? Really, I just like type, because I have like 30 or 40 other amazing, extraordinary people, developers, people from Silicon Valley. Like they're jumping from the most interesting industries. They're jumping into the metaverse. We even have to explain them what NFTs are, what a MetaMask is. But they already, we know they are bright where they are. But so they are jumping in, and through the NFTs, through all these technologies, where the experts are pushing the boundaries of what humans can achieve. So tell me if that is not exciting.
Is that correct to say that NFTs have already become the factor or driver of so-called mass adoption we in crypto community have been praying for years?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, like I have Axis, right? A friend of mine in Philippines is playing Axis, so I do. I do have NFTs, and I just realized, oh, I'm the owner of it.
Are you personally playing Axie Infinity?
I did for 3 weeks to understand the game, to understand the strategy, because also we were going to do a video for Human and Machine. So I really wanted to know. And I also wanted my girlfriend, who just had our first son a year and a bit, like she was like a super successful lawyer and like making her own money. And suddenly she's at home with a baby. So she wants to feel like she wants to make money or something, right? So I said, okay, buy these 3. I knew she was not going to have time. So I prepared a friend in Philippines that he's playing now. He's earning money, right? He is supplementing his income. So NFTs are actually delivering on what a lot of technology promised but couldn't. They are actually delivering real change and real benefits to people, to real people, and it's becoming even egalitarian. Like it's helping leveling the field. Like when I see, I'm sorry if I talk too much. Break, just cut me anytime you want. But,
no problem.
Okay, but for example, like just having these people earning 50, 60, 70, or even 80%, the players, right, of scholarship. Like I buy $2,000. A lot of people in the Philippines could never afford just save $2,000. So I buy them and I give this access to be played by someone, and these people earn up to 80%. Have you heard any such a thing, any such a scheme where, I don't want to say employee, but associate is actually earning 80% and the firm is earning 20? I don't know any other place that this is happening. So NFTs are making just an economic fair miracle.
I'd love to ask you about the people. You've been observing a lot of people all around the world. Again, from Mexico, you live in Thailand, you talk with guys from any part of the world. Do you see any difference in perception of what is NFT in people from Asia, Europe, America, where it's quite equal? So everybody perceives NFT now.
That's a very interesting question. And I would say that actually the people that you would believe that are engaged the least, are the ones that have received it the best, like the Philippine people, right? They are not, they just know that this is an NFT that they can play and they can earn, and that's it. So it's full acceptance, right? To the point that actually I have heard that you can now, a lot of places, you can pay real rent. You can pay your food with SLPs, which is amazing. I mean, truly like outstanding, right? It's becoming a currency inside Philippines, right? So I also have the pleasure to talk with people from Africa, great people, and they are like watching with these big eyes and trying to get in as much as they can, because they see it again as this equalizer, that just doesn't exist in the financial world, in the cyber world, in any way. And so I see that the people that want to adopt it most, or they have adopted most, are actually for people from third world countries, right? Like Latin America also is very receptive to all this. Africa, very receptive. Southeast Asia, definitely like completely sold on it. Like they are. I think that's the. And let's just forget a little bit about countries, but overall, like Europeans, for example, they do need to take their time. They question first for years and then they adopt. Well, people like Latin America, Southeast Asia, Africa adopt first. They just like, okay, let's try this, right? So I would say that would be the biggest way of dividing, like between two completely different mindsets, right? But these are mindsets that spill into the rest, right? Europeans will just not care so much about things that sound too flashy because they tend to be very conservative, while the rest of the world, it's looking for opportunities and therefore will be really open to try new stuff.
Yeah, you've mentioned the difference between developed and developing world. Who is developing, he adapts first. Who's developed, he learns first, and being the conservative. Yes, I've got my idea. How do you see the potential use cases of NFTs beyond digital arts, gaming, metaverse, in the future? What purposes NFTs will likely be used for?
You know, this is something that if you asked me 2 months ago, I would be like, let me see, and I would be struggling. But honestly, now I don't see a single thing that cannot be used with NFT. It's everywhere. Once you open your eyes, you are like, oh my God. And inside a metaverse, you know, which bridges, right? Which actually like gets these two separate, the digital and the real world together, right? It's just everywhere. Just everywhere. I mean, you could like, you know, sometimes my imagination just runs wild. So the people in the blockchain, like the ones that actually are doing it, are like, okay, that's for like 1 or 2 decades from now. So just, you know, just hospitals. I mean, just think about that. NFTs, of course, it can be just everything. It can be the wheels of people, right? People die, all the transferring of assets, right? Of course, the governments, there would be no better way of regulating like births, right? Like not regulating births, but, you know, like all the registration of deaths, of births, marriages, divorces, all these things would be without a question. It would revolutionize. When I'm a lawyer, remember? So I see that these smart contracts and all these NFTs, all these are, they will render most of the legal system as it exists today useless. And the NFT is just the best way that we have created to prove property, right? I'm gonna just think about how many cases in the judiciary system are contending property, one way or the other. So it's just everywhere. It's just a matter of time, actually. This is not if, it's just when.
Totally agree with you. Any unique thing existing in digital or physical world, maybe it has to be manifested as an NFT, and that's our future. So how do you, what first baby steps towards NFTs for newcomers who don't know anything about NFT, but I'm very excited with the philosophy and the idea we are discussing now, you would recommend to our listeners? First baby steps.
Look, I'll be honest with you. It would be dishonest for me to suggest other baby steps than the ones I have taken myself. You know, in my case, came through GameFi, right? GameFi is like earn to play inside metaverses, right? So that's probably the easiest, simplest, and the least risky way of exposing yourself to NFTs, right? So example of Axis, we go back to Axie Infinity, right? You need to buy three characters, 3 NFTs, but you know that they actually have been gaining value over time. You know that there's this is a platform that is worth 90,000 ETH right now, right? 250,000 players, active players. So you know that you're buying an NFT that most likely, at the very least, will keep its value, but very likely it's going to increase in value. And when you don't want to play, when things you just don't care about it, you can put it on the market and it can be sold for a very decent price. So I would say this is the simplest way. Why am I not saying any other? I'll be honest, because I haven't done it. So I think as long as you don't do it, you have no right to tell people, oh, you should try this, right? But I would like, for example, very much to try NFTs when they come about fragmenting property, like land or like developments, real estate development, to get a small share of some amazing resort somewhere in Bali or anywhere in the world, right? So I would do that, because I also would like that, feel the comfort of having an NFT representing a real world asset. That would be something that for me would be nice. But again, it's so early that probably, and what I have asked a lot of the people in my show, right, in our show, because I have a co-host, by the way, how to get in? How do I get in? So people say, okay, go to not ETH platform because it's just too expensive with the gas fees, but go to other NFT platforms in Matic, in Polygon. Now they have quite a few, right? And get something, get one thing. Or draw one thing. If you are an artist, this is the time for artists, man. People like artists, writers, like draw, people that would draw. This is your time to shine. Go and learn how to mint something, right, and put it somewhere, and see if it sells. And if it doesn't sell, it doesn't matter. At least now you belong to, you did the step, right? You took the step, and now you're on the other side of the fence. So that would be my recommendation.
Excellent. I'd love to ask you about the Human and Machine podcast, because we are all podcasters and you're a host. How did you decide to do that? What's the main idea and the way of discussion? And how do we find guests for this amazing show?
Thanks a lot. Well, the idea is precisely what the way that my exposure has happened over time, right? It's a very technical world. All the, a lot of the terms are actually just difficult. They're just intimidating, but they're not. They all have a physical analogy in real world. So as long as you have someone that can bridge the gap between the terms, right, and make like, okay, this is a name in this space, but we have something almost identical in real world, which is called this, right? So this was my idea. My co-host is a guy that is he's very structured, very disciplined, and the way he walks, he moves, his expression is really expressionless, right? He's just a very tech kind of person. So I was like, what? This guy looks like a robot. Right? And me with all my flaws, right? It's like I'm the average human, right? I'm not this amazingly technical, gifted person. I'm not super structured. I'm not super logical, unfortunately. But I have the intuition to ask the right questions, right? And once I understand, I'm able to take all the lingo away, strip it, and just say, oh, so what you're doing is this simple thing, right? Yeah, okay. So that's what all the show is about. A guy, a robot, machine, right, that understands everything, and me that asks questions and translate into human language, what we talked in the past, right? For people to really understand, and so we can demystify things, we can make things less intimidating and more day-to-day, more regular, so people can relax and actually give things a try. So that's how it is. How do we get our guests? Well, this is a show I'm doing with a friend of mine as well, right? It's also supporting a lot the channel. These things are not cheap, right? They take a lot of production, they take a lot of investment, they take a lot of post-production, right? So he's a great guy, and he's heavily involved in the blockchain world, heavily. I mean, yeah, like I think his phone book is full of like personalities that you and I like want to interview right now, right? So we were lucky that at the beginning we had the chance, and later other friends were like, hey, I like your show. like when can we do something? So word of mouth, and as it has grown, we were lucky to to grow our like social media channels. They just grew from a few thousand to like almost 40,000 each, right? Because we also help different projects with airdrops, right? Like giveaways, all these kind of things. So then more people came, like, hey, I want the same, right? So this is how it worked at the beginning, and now it's just developing in its own entity, and it's growing more organically.
Actually, hello, story. Finally, Tlahui, what is the best way to follow you on the internet, and are there any upcoming events, maybe online, offline? Are you going to speak?
Yeah, well, I'm not. I don't have anything right now, and it's difficult, right? All the events, everything's just have disappeared. It's starting, but to be honest, I'm much more focused on the projects we just I just told you about, right? And they're very time consuming. Not because sometimes I have to work so much, but I actually have to sit and imagine and wait for the imagination to come, right? So that's it's just a different kind of job. My job, right? How do people can get in touch with me? Well, Telegram would be a great start. And there's just my name, Tlahui, Tlahui, and you find me there, and I'll be super happy to hear from you guys.
Excellent. It's always super interesting to talk to you. I would have loved to do it regularly, but we've got the time limit. So, ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to the ENVELOP Podcast. It is supported by the Nifty product ENVELOP. Please like, share, comment, subscribe on the channel. Hit the bell button for not missing the future episodes. Mr. Tlahui Calva from Thailand, human in the meshing world and technology, and using MC, where you thank you for listening, and see you in the next episodes of the ENVELOP Podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Eugene. Bye, everyone.